guys? All good?
Yeah, he's the presenter. Come on.
Come on.
It is a big night. Come on, big night for your mob.
It is a big night. I had no hope at all. You know the percentage I gave last week, but you get a bit excited. You get reeled in a bit. No Mo Salah, big team news.
Oh, that's massive.
Isaac's in. Look at the crowd. They fancy it. They're up for it. So yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic.
You know, let's go to Madrid next.
Yeah.
TT, how do you see this game playing out?
Again, and everything is possible. I can see it happening, especially if Lamine Yamal is on fire. Ooh. The way he's been playing at the minute is outstanding. But hey, it's a tough place to go and win, Atletico. Very tough.
Ooh.
Dead air isn't usually a good thing.
Wow! I mean, you're supposed to be a pundit. Can you explain the pictures? I'm hosting from now on. Go on.
You know, so you didn't tee me up. Never mind.
Anyway, tonight, overtaking a 2-goal first leg deficit. Slow down a bit, baby. Slow down.
Slow down.
Big ass for Liverpool, but Anfield, the Reds never walk alone. Anita Jones went outside the ground to experiment the mayhem.
Kate, the atmosphere is electric here in the road leading up to Anfield. You've got the Liverpool team bus arriving here ahead of a huge European night. You can feel the sense of anticipation amongst the fans. Now, there's no doubt about it. This team have got a mountain to climb if they're to overturn that 2-goal deficit against defending champions PSG. But we've seen crazier things in football and at Anfield. Cast your mind back to 2019 when this side overturned a 3-goal deficit against Messi's Barcelona. The big question is, can they do it again? Not long to find out if Arne Slot and his men can write another page in this club's great history. Back to you in the studio.
Kate?
Yes?
Who are the two teams going through tonight?
I guess on logic you would have to go with PSG after the 2-0 lead in the first leg. What are you frantically looking for on your phone?
Nothing.
Thierry, as somebody who grew up outside this country and then came over to the Premier League, how quickly did Anfield make an impression on you?
Oh, straight away. You know, you hear stories and you've seen games, and when you arrive there at the beginning of the game, when they all start to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone," you kind of, you know, have to set yourself. Don't listen to it. Don't go with them. Like it's so contagious, really, when you hear it, and the way it is at Anfield is just very difficult to win there when the crowd is on, and those guys used to be on. It was so tough to play there. Really is. I say it so many times. You know, Highbury will always be above everything. I don't care in this world, always, but nothing comes close to a night game at Anfield. I don't know why at night is always different than during the day, but it's just it is outstanding. I'll be honest. The atmosphere is just great, really.
If that's what it feels like from the outside, what does it feel like on the inside?
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I think in your mind going into a game like this tonight, it's also not what the atmosphere can do for you, it's what it can do to the opposition as well. And you hear Thierry, like some of the greatest players in the world who've played at that stadium, talk about that stadium. Now, it's not like that every week. It's certain moments to a season. This feels like one of those moments. But what I would say is, it's a different atmosphere to when you'd ask us or you'd ask me, I played at Anfield, what's the most intimidating or the loudest crowd? I would say teams in Greece or Turkey where that's like, they be going crazy now, an hour before the game. It's not that. What it is, it'll start tonight, but they will need something to kick it off. And it's not always their own team. It might be a refereeing decision. It might be a silly challenge by the opposition, and all of a sudden everyone just going, whoosh, and it just goes from there, and it just carries Liverpool along, and it has done for, as I said, 40, 50 years.
How about you? Did you crumble under the pressure?
Yeah, I crumbled. I've never won there. Yeah, I crumbled under pressure. Tight pitch, fans really close. But it was that first tackle, wasn't it? I remember you was horrible back then. You know, in Liverpool, you know, in the tunnel and stuff. And we played to England together, even though he thought we didn't. And then he wouldn't even look at you. He would be so focused on what he needed to do. And I always remember getting that first challenge. You or Steven Gerrard getting that first challenge, it's over. The crowd was up. And then it was like, I don't know, it was a fortress that he just couldn't overcome, or we couldn't anyway. But it's a special
You sound
place.
scared of this boxing match.
All right, let's take you over to Anfield to Anita and Peter, who were there for us together tonight. It is so good to see you both. We're excited for this game.
We definitely are. Just picking up on what Micah was saying, there's someone who hasn't crumbled here, is a certain Peter Schmeichel. So could you just maybe tell us about the Anfield factor?
But there is an Anfield factor. It's not just something that we are saying, and it can't have an impact. Jamie just elaborated on that. It could be anything really. But what was really interesting yesterday was that Luis Enrique, in his press conference, told the media that he's actually been at the Kop watching a game because he wanted to watch a game between fans, with fans, and he picked Anfield at the Kop because it's the best in the world. Now, will it intimidate him? I don't think so. I asked him last week, will Anfield intimidate? I asked Hakimi as well. The short answer is no, it's not going to intimidate. And Hakimi actually said, we have got the best home support in the world, so they will not be intimidated. But we have to wait and see.
Something that could intimidate them is the starting 11 for Liverpool. Big news, no Mohamed Salah in the starting lineup for the Reds. Is there anything that stands out to you from the lineup?
Absolutely. When you look at that, don't forget last week they played 5 at the back. Jamie wasn't too happy about that. Today, I think they're going to change it a little bit again. It looks like a 4-4-2 with Ekitike up front, with Alexander Isak. I think that is a surprise. Isak has not had the best of times yet at Liverpool. They paid an awful lot of money for him, but he has scored 1 goal in the Champions League so far in his career, and that was from Newcastle against PSG. So maybe a repeat tonight.
Yeah, and it's the same team for PSG, Kate. They know what it's like to win here, so we'll see if that Anfield factor plays a role at all tonight.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you both. Let's talk about the starting lineup then for Liverpool, because it is a surprise not to see Mo Salah in a game of this magnitude. Jamie, your thoughts?
I can't believe it, that he's not playing. I can't understand why. The manager will have his reasons, but Isak is nowhere near fit. Mo Salah didn't play in the first leg, so he's not like some of the players who played last week and then played at the weekend in the Premier League. He played in the Premier League, he scored a goal. He's still one of probably Liverpool's best goal scorer. He's used to this system. Isak's never really played with Ekitike before. Now, I don't think Arne Slot's the type of manager who would almost be thinking, I remember what you did to me a few months ago when you called me out publicly. Certain managers in the past, I can think of maybe an Alex Ferguson might think something like that. I don't think Arne Slot would. But is it because he's already announced he's leaving? And it's something like, well, OK, I'm almost going with the players who are going to be here in the next year. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of. But even that doesn't make sense because it's about the here and now, the right now. So I'm flabbergasted Mo Salah's not playing.
Liverpool come in obviously 2-0 down from that first leg. Were PSG almost too casual in that first leg for you? It felt like a game that they could perhaps have killed off already in that first leg.
I don't think you can say casual. You can say that they could have punished them a bit more, yes, but there's no way you're thinking about being too nice and just, you know what, no, because there is a return leg. Yes, they had a lot of opportunities. Yes, sometimes they were flicking around. At one point, I think they had a chance where I think it was Nuno Mendes that controlled it and tried to pass it in instead of shooting. But look, it's still 2-0. You still have something to defend there and play your way. I don't think that they were too casual, to be fair.
A little bit of hope, Jamie, for Liverpool?
No, when I was looking at them stats.
We've talked about the fact that there's no Mo Salah in this starting lineup. What we do know is that Liverpool spent a lot of money to bring in some players that they hope would have big impacts in these kind of big European nights, right? In Florian Wirtz or Alexander Isak. A lot of responsibility on Florian Wirtz, I guess, in a game like this, given the price tag that came attached to him, Jamie.
Yeah, and he hasn't delivered so far. And the best way you could describe him as a player so far is that he's neat and tidy. And there's no real punch at the end of it. He looks nice between the boxes, a lovely footballer, as you'd expect for that type of price tag. When you're talking about the players he's up against tonight in terms of sort of Neves and Vitinha in midfield, I mean, he couldn't lay a glove on them in that first game. And he hasn't scored a goal since the end of January either. And he didn't score too many before that anyway. So when you think of what Liverpool have spent, I mean, they've got nothing for the book really so far, and we know he's signed for a 5-year deal, and it's here for a long time. And also in terms of the big signings in the summer, Ekitike and Isak, this is only the second time they've started a game, all three of them together. That was in where was it? Frankfurt 5-1. They won in the Champions League. So that bodes well for tonight, but been very underwhelming so far, Florian Wirtz.
Just on Wirtz, where would you play him in this Liverpool side? Because he's played on left, he's played centre. Where do you think he's best in this system under Slot?
Well, people will always describe him as a number 10. I'm not quite sure Liverpool can afford to have him as a number 10 in a Premier League midfield week in, week out. Because of his lack of physicality, his lack of sort of energy. There's talk about he likes the left, but not left wing, more inside left. So I can actually see him playing there a lot in the future, inside left position. I think eventually next season, Szoboszlai go back to the role that he had last season when Liverpool won the Premier League as a number 10.
Is your opinion on Wirtz similar to Jamie's, Thierry?
Yeah, I mean, we've been patient, and rightly so, because I remember when Rodri arrived at Man City, there were questions about him. Is he good? Is he not good? What is he going to be? And then we all know what happened with him after that. But for me, he has to play well tonight and have an impact on the game, because that might start something for him at Liverpool, especially if the fans see that he can have a good game against Paris Saint-Germain. That didn't happen yet, but it's not only him, and we're going to talk about him, obviously, and rightly so, but Milos Kerkez also, you know, can Isaac do something also tonight? I know he's not where he should be in terms of how he is physically, but at one point, if the coach goes with you tonight and Mo Salah is on the bench, I would have been, I need to do something. I need to do something just because of who is on the bench. The respect I would have had for Mo Salah is on the bench. I'm starting. I have to do something tonight. I have to. You must.
Yeah. And what Thierry's saying, it makes this an even braver decision, doesn't it, to start Alexander Isak, considering he hasn't started since December, and you put Mo Salah on the bench and he does get that start.
Yeah, I think Jamie alluded to it before the game in terms of energy and Anfield, and when someone's not fully fit, maybe it is a little bit of gamble. But in terms of his ability, when he was at Newcastle, we as pundits all said, when Isak goes to Liverpool, they've won the league. He's been injured, so he's not really been able to affect it like he would. I just don't think it is a risk to him not being fit right now, but if he does get a chance, you expect him to score it. Or just do something for 60 minutes. Run to the ground for 60 minutes. Let the Liverpool fans get on your side, and maybe he can get something towards...
I do have a question for you, Jamie. Do you think, because people don't mention Warren Zaïre-Emery, I thought he was excellent in the first leg. Do you think that Liverpool can cope with their midfield?
No. And that's not really a criticism of Liverpool's midfield. I just think that midfield of PSG is very, very special. And that's why I said it almost feels like Messi less, Barcelona of Pep. That's always the missing, that type of sort of one of the best players of all time, really. That midfield, what we saw them do in the last summer in the Champions League final, what they did to Inter Milan, what they did to Liverpool, what they've done to plenty of teams over the last 12, 18 months has been absolutely outstanding. And for me, Liverpool's midfield, the setup, you've got two players in there who are not great physically. You've got McAllister and Wirtz as well. Peter said something before about Liverpool going to win the game. You've got to get the ball back first. Gravenberch can get the ball back. Szoboszlai can get the ball back. I'm not sure the other two.
So how do they approach it then, Jamie? Because you watch Liverpool week in, week out. You're so passionate about them. How do they get a result tonight with what you see in terms of the lineup?
Well, they're not a better footballing team than PSG, so they've got to use the crowd, they've got to use the energy off the ball. But the thing about this system is it's a very narrow system, and I'm not a fan of these systems, because I always think the opposition have always got an easy ball. It's always that they know someone's free there. So when they're under pressure, they can always go to a full-back. You can never feel like you can lock someone in. So this is getting your best players in the team, but it's not a system for me, because there's always an out ball for the opposition, and opposition teams need that when they're at Anfield and you're trying to put pressure on them. I think it'd be too easy just to keep finding the full-backs, and we are talking about the two best full-backs in the world.